everyone. Welcome to your fourth lesson with us. I hope you enjoyed our last one, and we're very excited for this week. Something a little bit more non-traditional, which is kind of the fashion that we've been going in. So today we're going to be talking about embroidery, something that maybe you guys haven't done before, maybe you have. It's something that I actually didn't learn until recently, so kind of fun that you guys get to check it out earlier. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about 6 different stitches that you can do. And at the very end of watching all the different demos, you can kind of create your own design. And with, as far as materials go, you'll need the embroidery hoop, which came in your pack, as well as embroidery thread, needles, and then a piece of fabric to be working on. So for me, I have kind of found a swatch of a bandana and an old rag, so I'll probably use something like that. But anyway, we're really excited about this lesson, and I thought before we kind of move into the history, which Hannah will talk about, and the demos, I thought I would kind of talk about college. And I know last week, maybe the week before, we kind of mentioned it, and anyway, I just kind of wanted to explain my own college experience. I obviously am a student here at App State. I've had a really great time, and I think for me it was a difficult, I had a difficult time in high school kind of transitioning into college because it was such a big step for me. Obviously, you make a bunch of friends, but the first few months are hard. But I think being able to acknowledge the fact that it might be tricky, but you have to get yourself out there. And I think making friends for me was the hardest, but I think it was the most rewarding process as well. Anyway, so going off of that, for our first journal prompt today, I wanted to talk about, because our theme's growth, right? So I wanted to talk about our thoughts and, concerns, fears, exciting stuff about the future. I think with growth we've kind of been talking about where we've come from, where we're at now, how we've grown, but this time I want to show or have you guys illustrate or write down anything that kind of comes to mind, what you guys think of as far as the future and where you want to go, what you're nervous about, things that you're concerned about, but where you want to be, where you see yourself right now. Are there any colleges that you're interested in, or maybe you don't want to do college, and that's perfectly fine. There's a lot of really good options, a lot of really great schools, and I know a lot of people that are happy in so many different places and so many different majors too. Anyway, so that's our journal prompt today, so I'll give you a few more minutes. You can pause the video or do whatever you need to. Spend as much time as you want or as little time as you want, and then we'll move on. Okay, so I hope that was good, and I kind of want you guys to continue thinking about this stuff, thinking about growth and thinking about this class and how it relates to your own personal growth, and how art can potentially help you grow in a lot of different ways, more than just being creative. I think sometimes people don't understand that art isn't just arts and crafts. I think there's a lot more to it, which is what I have found after majoring in art education. I'm in studios all over the time, all the time. But I love it, and I think it's also it's made me who I am, and not only am I more creative or whatever, I think it's really been a way for me to express my personality, and what have you. But anyway, we're really excited for this lesson. I hope you guys have a fantastic time. And next, Hannah is going to be talking about the history. So enjoy that. Bye, guys.
Hi everyone. So welcome to week 4 of Upward Bound art lessons. So Lily has already given you a rundown, a little bit of what we're going to be talking about this week, and that is embroidery. So just a quick little definition before I start telling you guys about the history of embroidery. So embroidery is defined as the art of decorating clothing, is the art of embellishing clothing with decorative thread. So again, I feel like that's kind of explanatory. Oh my god, I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. But just in case you're a little confused about what this looks like, here's my favorite sweater, by the way. It has a little embroidered set of golf clubs on it. that is technically embroidery. So now let's take a look into some examples from history. So embroidery has pretty much been around since humans have been wearing and producing fabric. Since there has been a piece of cloth on a human's body, there has been a way to decorate it and make it nice. The origins of embroidery were thought to originally come from China and the Near East, but our first actual records of what we have of embroidery comes from the 9th and 10th century Sweden, which we also call the Viking Age. So it's not until 2 decades later in the 12th century when embroidery finally kind of makes its way to Europe. And we see these in old European churches where ornately decorated fabrics would be put out as tablecloths and wall hangings to kind of show off the church's wealth and power that it had. So around 1800 it became popular for upper class women to embroider small images onto really expensive silks. And some of these images would be like birds and plants and flowers and things that were really popular during the Indian trade at that time, which was like the utmost expensive, like fancy thing to have. So of course you have to embroider it everywhere. And then in the 1900s, it's when kind of the working people got a hold of embroidery. And so here we switch out the expensive silks for more coarse, cheaper fabrics and the birds and plants and flowers for Christian Bible verses and proverbs, like with like ornately decorated sides. Historically, embroidery has been a particularly feminine hobby, but I'm gonna speak a few things to that. One, hobbies do not have genders. Anybody can embroider. It's a medium of art, and that's not restricted to a certain kind of gender. And like, break the stereotypes. Come on, like we're over this. But also to give you guys an example of kind of breaking that gender role of like women's work. Famous actor Henry Fonda, who, if that's not a super familiar name to you guys, he's kind of an older actor. He was in 12 Angry Men and Once Upon a Time in the West, which I have not seen, but is on Netflix and has been on my list for a very long time. But he was known for embroidering between sets and like embroidery being his favorite hobby. A great man. So, although I couldn't find any pictures of Henry Fonda's embroidery work, I wanted to show you guys some contemporary embroidery artists and kind of inspire you guys for thinking about what you guys want to do for this week. So first, I have Sophie Standing. So here, probably right around this area, is just an example of one of her pieces where she combines illustration and embroidery to make her works. I guess like a little side note for all this, all the examples I'm going to be showing you guys are mixed media, but please, like, embroidery is a super hard skill to learn and master and do, just in the first place. Like, be kind to yourselves. But anyways, so Sophie is from Africa and illustrates animals that are from Africa and uses these to embellish these illustrations. I just find her work to be so, like, gentle. That may not be the right word I'm looking for, but I just find them like delicate. There we go. So like here you have like a picture of this super tough rhino that I look at a rhino and the word delicate does not come to mind. But the way how Sophie embellishes like this illustration makes this already beautiful animal become almost more of a trendy kind of pretty, which of course is super important when like we consider that a lot of the animals that she depicts are on the endangered species list. So next I have Ana Teresa Barbosa. Like as soon as I saw like a picture of her work, I was so immediately struck by literally how off the wall it is. But I thought that her work was so cool because like when you think of embroidery, it's very much almost like painting with thread. Like I just can't imagine like seeing this like on a wall somewhere and like your eye just not being drawn to it. I just find it so unique and creative, and I of course just wanted to share it with you guys. And then lastly, I have Juana Gomez, who combines photography and embroidery for her work, but like embroiders like nervous systems and blood vessels and bones and like human anatomy. But I also think there's kind of this really distinct left brain, right brain kind of like dichotomy when it comes to art versus science. And in reality, the two pair together in so many ways that I could like write a whole book about it. And there are so many books about it that I honestly don't even need to write a book about it, but I could. I think that she's taking this thing that is not normally seen. Like this looks like almost a scientific diagram that you would see like a science classroom, but instead she is taking this piece of art that's almost kind of like macabre, but still like beautiful and like very matter of fact. So these are just 3 examples of contemporary artists, but there are so many more that I could have talked about today. I said in my I think it was the first video that we did actually, that was with the bookbinding. Yes, I talked about Pinterest for a second, but again, I'll talk about it. Always go and look for inspiration on your own time as well. These are just a couple examples that stood out to me, but what I like may not, and honestly probably isn't the same things that you like. So always go and explore and get some inspiration from Pinterest, Instagram, or the internet, or books, or but just really thinking hard about it, like use those imaginations. Anyway, that's about all I have to say, so stick around for some demos and we'll show you guys how to do a couple of really common stitches and then also what kind of arts that we created this week.
everyone. So today I'm going to be sharing the satin stitch and the French knot for embroidery. And yeah, so let's get started. So all you'll need is your embroidery hoop, an embroidery needle, your embroidery floss, whichever color you prefer, some scissors, and whichever surface you decide to embroider on. This is just a piece of old fabric I dyed for a class of mine a while ago, but you can use like a t-shirt or this is an old shirt. I think shirts work the best, but you can get creative and embroider on anything that you want. So first, gonna go ahead and put this on the hoop. Alright, make sure you have it. Oh golly, okay. Oops. Things happen. So I'm gonna try that again. I want to make sure it's pretty tight. Just because the tighter, the more tension you have, it's better on the stitches you make. And we can go ahead and tighten that out. Cool. So there's that. So yeah, have our surface. And now we're gonna take our embroidery floss and we're going to stick this through the needle, embroidery needle. And all right, so I've done a couple just for my own practice here, but I'm gonna go ahead and do some more. So first off, you're gonna want to take your embroidery needle and you're gonna want to come up through your fabric from the back. Okay, come up. And so then what you're gonna do next is you're gonna use your left hand. You're gonna bring the string over just a little bit, and then you're gonna take your embroidery needle and you're gonna come from the bottom, so the embroidery floss is on top and your needle is on the bottom. You're gonna wrap your thread around your needle once and then twice, okay? So once, you're gonna wrap it around once, twice, and then you're gonna take your needle and you're gonna go back down into the fabric, but not in that same hole that you came up in. Can you see? You're gonna go back down right next to that hole, okay? Then you're gonna pull on with your left hand, pull on this fabric a little bit. Sorry, with your left hand, you're gonna pull on the thread a little bit, but not too much, just a little bit of tension, okay? And you're gonna bring your needle through, still holding onto the thread on the left. Oops, there's something that's stuck in the back. Bring it through. Okay, keep holding, and then let go. And then there you go. That's a French knot. Alright, I'm gonna use some different embroidery floss, and I'm gonna do it a couple more times for you guys, just so you can get some more practice as well. So, once again, take your embroidery needle with the floss started, and you're gonna come up on your fabric from the back of the fabric. Come up. Take your left hand and move some thread to the side. Take your embroidery needle, come from under the embroidery floss and wrap it around the floss once, once and twice, and then you're gonna go back down into the fabric, not in that same hole, but next to the hole that you came up through. Pull a little bit with your left hand on the thread to the left, bring your needle down through the fabric, keep holding the thread on the left, let go, and there you have it. Alright, let's try it one more time. Alright, come up through the fabric, pull the thread to the left, wrap the embroidery needle around twice, bring the needle back into the, wrap it around once, twice, bring it back down into the fabric, hold the thread to the left, a little bit of some tension, push the needle back down into the fabric, pull the needle, pull the thread, keep holding the thread on top, and then let go. And there you have it. You have these little French knots. And these are really great for if you wanted to do small detail work. A lot of people use them to make flowers or just dots. But you can do this endlessly and it would create a really pretty surface and gives it some texture too. So yeah. Alright, next I'm going to show you the satin stitch. And so this next stitch is really great for if you wanted to like create a shape and fill it in with the embroidery floss. A lot of people use this stitch to make like flower petals or like circles or hearts or whatnot. Yeah, it's pretty simple. So I'm gonna use a pencil actually and draw out the shape that I want to fill in. So let's say that I wanted to embroider a circle on my fabric. So there's my circle, and I'm going to want to embroider this circle using a satin stitch. So I'm first going to take my embroidery floss and thread it through my needle, like so. And then I'm going to come up through the fabric from the bottom, and I'm just going to like pick a place at the top of my shape here, my circle, and come up. Make sure you leave enough embroidery floss that you think will be able to fill the whole shape. And then I'm gonna go down to the bottom of the circle and go through the fabric from the top. And then I'm gonna pull it, and then I'm gonna repeat that, but I'm now gonna go to the right of the circle, start filling it in. So I'm gonna come up right next to that hole that I created, but not in the same hole. Okay, come up and next to it, down, and you're just gonna keep doing this until you basically outline the rest of your shape. So there we have it. There's my circle. It kind of started to get a little angular on this side, but that's okay. You get the idea. You can do this with basically any shape that you want to create. It's a nice way to like fill in shapes, and it creates a really smooth surface. So yeah. Hey there everyone, it's Brianna here, and I'm gonna close us out today. I hope that you enjoyed embroidering and you like it as much as we do. I think it's a really fun artistic process. Yeah, so first off, go ahead and take your visual journals out, and we're gonna do a small reflection in them. Just take about like 5 minutes, or really however long you want, and just think about not even just this art lesson, but the other art lessons and all the other lessons and classes that you've been taking this summer through Upward Bound, and just think of things that have stuck out to you, or how you've grown or you think you've changed since the start of Upward Bound, and you can write about it or you can draw about it, and then also maybe jot down some things that you liked about embroidery, maybe things that you struggled with or things you want to work on in the future. So yeah, go ahead and take it a little bit, and we'll meet you back in a second. Alright, awesome. I hope that you were able to take some time and reflect in your journal. I think it's always an important thing to do after you have undergone an artistic process of any kind. But I did want to talk about why we wanted you all to learn how to embroider, and why it's important. I just think it's a really beautiful artistic process, and you can get super creative with it. You can use, you can embroider on really anything that you're able to. There are so many surfaces to embroider on, there are so many surfaces to embroider on that's not just like using the embroidery hoop. You can embroider on like a pillowcase, or I've embroidered on my backpack and my shoes before. You can on a towel. There are so many things that you can embroider on, and I encourage you to think outside the box and get creative on your future embroidery adventures, I guess, and in what you embroider on. So yeah, and just as a little sneak peek into next week, I don't want to elaborate on this too much and give too much away, but I did want to put this out there so you are able to, so you can start thinking about what you might want to do for your last final project, which is crazy to think about. Next week is our last lesson, and we're going to be asking you all to create a final piece incorporating hopefully as many of the techniques and artistic processes that we've shared with you over these last few lessons. And just start thinking about which processes you like best, and maybe what you might would want to use in your final project. The idea is to create like a big, almost like a tapestry or like a wall hanging. It was the idea, but you can get as creative as you want with it. So yeah, just think about what you might want to use, what materials you might want to use, and how you might want your piece to look. So yeah, but other than that, I hope you guys are doing well, and you take care, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.